Welcome back to the Book Nook podcast. You know, we love to get our hands dirty with a good deep dive, and this time we're tackling Richard Osman's new novel, We Solve Murders.
Ooh, this is an interesting one, isn't it?
Right. I mean, you guys sent in such an interesting mix of sources for this one.
Yeah, reviews from, professional critics, casual readers even,
Excerpts from the book itself.
and some YouTube video reviews too.
Yeah, and one thing is clear. People have thoughts about this one.
It really seems like people are kind of divided on it.
For sure, for sure.
It's interesting to see, how Osman is building on the success of the Thursday Murder Club,
Yeah.
but also seems to be taking some risks with this one, right?
Yeah.
We've got new characters, a plot that, spans the globe even.
Yeah, a touch of AI intrigue thrown in there.
Exactly.
So,
It's a lot.
yeah, why don't we start with the premise?
Oh, okay.
You've got Steve Ittolde, a retired police officer,
Mm-hmm.
and he's enjoying a peaceful retirement with his cat, Trouble, in a quiet English village, right?
Classic Osman setup.
You think you know exactly what you're going to get,
Right.
and suddenly he's thrust into this whirlwind adventure
Yeah.
by his daughter-in-law,
Amy.
Amy, who happens to be a private security officer.
Yes. Very capable.
And they're on the case to stop a murderer targeting social media influencers.
Another interesting twist.
Yeah, so we've got that, classic Osman blend of cozy mystery with a dash of something unexpected.
Yes, and that's what seems to be dividing readers.
Yeah.
You've included some reviews from diehard Thursday Murder Club fans
Yeah.
who seem to feel let down by this one.
Right. They miss that signature warmth,
Yeah.
those character-driven plots,
Mm-hmm.
and they found this one to be a bit too busy.
A little too much going on.
Yeah, maybe sacrificing a bit of heart for a
Yeah.
faster pace and a more complex storyline.
That's a really good point.
And it's so interesting, isn't it? Because you've also included reviews praising those exact things
Oh, absolutely.
that those other readers disliked.
Yeah.
Like, they love that fast-paced globe-trotting, the humor, the intriguing new dynamic between Steve and Amy.
Yeah. It's like they were looking for something different.
It makes you wonder, is this just a natural progression for Osman as an author?
Right.
Or has he strayed too far from what made his previous series so beloved?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
It's definitely a departure.
Yeah.
And it really, I think it raises a question for you as the reader.
Yeah.
What are you looking for in an Osman novel?
Yeah.
Are you here for that cozy charm of Cooper's Chase?
Yeah.
Or are you ready for him to push the boundaries a little bit, experiment with something new?
Right.
Different kind of reader.
I think it might come down to the characters themselves.
Oh, for sure.
So let's talk about Steve.
Okay.
We see him grieving his late wife,
Yeah.
but also finding moments of humor in everyday life.
He's got that dry wit.
He misses his pub quizzes. He chats with his cat, Trouble. He even talks to his deceased wife, Debbie, through a dictaphone.
That's so sweet.
There's a real poignancy to Steve, right?
Yes.
He's not just, a funny old chap thrown into a crazy situation.
Right.
He's grappling with loss.
Mm.
He's trying to find his place in a world that feels very different from the one that he knew.
He's a fully realized character.
And then we have Amy.
Oh, Amy.
She's tough. She's capable. She's a bodyguard, always on edge.
Always watching her surroundings.
Yeah. And one detail that really jumped out at me from the sources was that she's actually closer to her father-in-law, Steve,
Oh, yeah.
than she is to her own husband.
I mean, that says something, right?
It's such an intriguing dynamic.
It is.
It suggests a complex backstory, maybe some past trauma
Yeah.
that shaped her personality and her relationships.
And your approach to life, too, probably.
And it sets up a really unique partnership between her and Steve.
Absolutely.
A bond built on mutual respect and trust.
I mean, who wouldn't want that kind of dynamic in their life?
Before we get too deep into those relationships, though,
Yeah.
we'll make sure we give enough love to Rosie, this larger-than-life best-selling author who seems to steal every scene that she's in.
Oh, she's a riot.
One of the YouTubers even compared her to like a mix of Jackie Collins and Barbara Cartland,
Oh, wow.
which paints quite a picture, right?
I can see it.
She's just a force of nature.
She is.
She injects this real sense of flamboyance and humor into the story.
Mm-hmm.
She embraces life to the fullest.
Yeah.
Whether she's escaping hitmen or drawing inspiration for her novels from real-life events,
Living her best life.
yeah, you get the sense that she's truly living in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
and it's contagious.
It is. I love that about her.
If you're enjoying this deep dive into We Solve Murders,
Oh, yes.
be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review.
Yes, please do.
It really helps us reach other bookworms like you.
We appreciate every single one.
Now, before we move on, I have to ask about the villain.
Oh, yes.
So we know his name is Francois Loubet.
Francois Loubet.
Yeah, and he's the mastermind behind these influencer murders.
Mm.
But here's the twist.
Yeah.
He communicates only through ChatGPT.
Okay, that's a little creepy.
That's a pretty modern take on the classic criminal mastermind, wouldn't you say?
It is. It really is. And it makes you wonder about,
Yeah.
technology and how it's changing everything.
It adds this whole layer of intrigue, right?
Absolutely.
And it speaks to those anxieties that I think we all have about technology
yeah.
and anonymity in the digital age.
Right. Can we truly hide behind AI?
Yeah.
What are the ethical implications of using technology like that for criminal purposes?
Right.
This is what elevates We Solve Murders beyond a simple whodunit
Yeah.
and into something a lot more thought-provoking.
It's definitely a detail that sticks with you.
It is.
So we've got this quirky trio, Steve, Amy, and Rosie, on this globe-trotting adventure trying to outsmart this tech-savvy villain.
Okay, I'm hooked already.
But
yeah.
you also included some reviews where readers felt like the plot got a bit too convoluted,
Oh, okay.
maybe even overstuffed with characters and locations.
Too much of a good thing, maybe.
One of your reviewers even mentioned making a character list just to keep up.
Oh, wow.
But personally, I found that chaos to be part of the fun.
I can see that.
It's like being swept up in a whirlwind adventure, never quite sure what's coming next.
It's a ride.
It is.
So it's definitely a different kind of reading experience than the Thursday Murder Club series.
Right.
Which tends to be, more grounded in a single location.
Yeah.
Osman's really pushing his boundaries here.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see if he continues in this vein in future installments.
I can't wait to see what he does next.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I mean, that leads us to the big question that a lot of your sources bring up. Does We Solve Murders live up to the high bar set by the Thursday Murder Club series?
Yeah, it's the question on everyone's mind, right?
It is.
And you've included some pretty passionate reviews from readers who just couldn't get into this one.
Right.
They miss that warmth, the gentle humor, the focus on the characters' relationships.
Yeah. That made the Thursday Murder Club so special.
Right.
They felt like something was missing here.
I can see their point.
Yeah.
We Solve Murders does have a different energy, a different tone.
Yeah.
It's faster, more frenetic,
Great.
and maybe a little less emotionally resonant.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to remember that this is a new series, a new set of characters finding their footing.
Right.
It's only natural for an author to evolve, to experiment with new styles.
Exactly. And not every book can be a home run,
True.
even for an author as talented as Richard Osman.
Yeah.
But, I think it's worth celebrating the fact that he's pushing himself, trying new things.
Oh, absolutely.
He's not content to just repeat the same formula.
Right.
And that's exciting
It is.
as a reader
I agree.
to see an author take those kinds of risks.
Yeah. And I think even in the most critical reviews that you provided,
Yeah.
there's a sense of respect for Osman's writing.
Yeah.
He's still lauded for his sharp wit, his ability to create memorable characters, and his knack for crafting a compelling mystery.
Yeah.
Even if this one takes us on a wilder ride than we're used to.
And speaking of wild rides, let's talk about that cliffhanger ending.
Oh, yes.
Osman clearly has big plans for Steve, Amy, and Rosie.
I can't wait to see what happens next.
He's already mentioned that he intends to continue this series alongside the Thursday Murder Club.
Oh, wow. So we're going to be getting 2 doses of Osman's mysteries each year.
It seems like it.
Double the Osman, double the fun.
I like it.
It does make you wonder, though, what direction will he take We Solve Murders in future installments?
That's the big question, isn't it? I have to admit, I'm really curious to see where he goes with his new team. What do you think, based on what we've seen so far?
Well, I'm particularly intrigued by, the potential of Amy's backstory.
Yeah.
We get these hints of a troubled past, a reason why she's so guarded and closed off.
Mhm.
I think exploring that in more depth could add a really compelling emotional layer to her character and her relationship with Steve.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm also hoping we'll see Steve shine in his element a bit more.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a future book could bring them back to a quieter setting.
Oh.
A charming English village, perhaps,
I like it.
where Steve can use his old-school policing skills to crack a case
Yeah.
while enjoying a pint and lamenting the lack of decent Scotch eggs.
That sounds very Steve.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I love that.
Maybe we'll see Adam
Oh, Adam.
Steve's son and Amy's husband
Yes.
play a more significant role.
Right.
I mean, their unconventional family dynamic is definitely ripe for exploration.
It is. There are so many possibilities.
Yeah,
But for now, we're left with that tantalizing cliffhanger.
we are.
What do you think, listener? Are you intrigued enough to join Steve and Amy on their next adventure?
No.
Or are you sticking with the familiar comforts of the Thursday Murder Club?
It's a tough choice.
It is a tough choice.
And if you are leaning towards giving We Solve Murders a shot,
Yeah.
don't forget to check the show notes for a link to purchase the book.
It supports the show, and it supports Richard Osman.
And while you're at it, if you're enjoying these deep dives,
Yes.
we'd love it if you'd take a moment to subscribe to the Book Nook podcast and leave us a review.
It really does help.
It helps more bookworms like you find us, and we really appreciate the support.
We do.
Now, before we wrap things up, I want to touch on a detail that wasn't explicitly addressed in any of your sources.
Okay.
The way Osman portrays social media influencers in We Solve Murders.
Oh, interesting.
It's a backdrop that immediately adds a layer of social commentary, don't you think?
Absolutely.
It really does.
It's a really clever way to explore the darker side of online fame.
Yeah.
The vulnerability, the constant pressure to perform,
Mm-hmm.
the blurred lines between the curated persona and the real person behind the screen.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is.
One of your reviewers even mentioned how the book highlights the way influencers can be exploited,
Oh, yeah.
especially when they're so eager to make it
Right?
in this world that's so obsessed with online popularity.
It's a different kind of pressure these days.
And it's especially chilling when you consider that the villain is manipulating them through technology.
Oh, yeah.
He's essentially using their desire for fame and validation as a tool for his own criminal gain.
It's scary how easy it is to do that,
It is.
to manipulate people online.
It's a disturbing reflection of how technology can be used to take advantage of people,
Yeah.
particularly those who are already vulnerable or seeking approval.
Right. They're easy targets.
It raises all sorts of questions about the ethics of social media, marketing, the responsibility of platforms, the ways that we can protect ourselves from manipulation in this world of curated images and online personas.
Just a whole other
We
conversation
could have a whole other deep dive on
about that topic.
Absolutely.
It feels like Osman is really tapping into some of the anxieties of our time with this one.
He is.
But it's also a really entertaining read.
yeah.
Which is what we ultimately want from a mystery novel, right? Exactly. He's managed to weave those thought-provoking elements into a story that's still full of twists, turns, and, those signature Osman moments of humor.
Right.
He gives us puzzles to solve, characters to root for, and even a little bit of social commentary to chew on.
So is We Solve Murders a hit or a miss?
That's the question.
It seems like the answer really depends on what you're looking for as a reader.
It does.
But even if it's not a perfect match for every Thursday Murder Club fan, I think it's a worthwhile read.
I agree.
It shows us that Osman is willing to take risks to evolve as an author and to keep us guessing.
And in a world where we're constantly bombarded with content, that willingness to experiment is something to be admired. I mean, it would be so easy for him to just stick with what works, to
Right.
keep churning out the same kind of stories.
Right.
But he's challenging himself, and in turn, he's challenging us as readers to expand our horizons a bit.
I think that's a great point. Sometimes it's good to step outside of our comfort zones to try something a little different. And who knows, you might just discover a new favorite author or series along the way.
That's true.
Or, in this case, a new side to an author you already love.
Exactly.
Speaking of new discoveries, I think one of the most interesting things about We Solve Murders is the dynamic between Steve and Amy.
Oh, yeah.
It's not your typical detective duo.
Huh?
They're not partners. They're not old friends. They're family.
And not just any family.
And not just any family, they're in-laws.
That's a whole other level of complication.
It really is. And it makes you think about what makes a detective duo work.
Yeah, what is it?
Is it shared history,
Mm-hmm.
contrasting personalities, unwavering loyalty, or is there something else entirely at play here?
That's a good question.
That's a question. I'd love to hear your thoughts on listener. What kind of partnerships do you find most compelling in crime fiction? Do you prefer the classic hard-boiled detective with a cynical worldview? Or maybe you're drawn to the amateur sleuth who stumbles into a mystery and uses their unique perspective to solve it.
So many options.
There are. And how does the dynamic between Steve and Amy fit into that spectrum?
Yeah.
Do you think their unconventional relationship adds something special to the story? Or would you prefer to see them develop into a more traditional detective partnership as the series progresses?
I'm curious to see where Osman takes it.
I am too.
These are just a few things to ponder as you decide whether to embark on this new adventure with Richard Osman. It's a different kind of journey than the Thursday Murder Club, but it's no less entertaining.
And if you do decide to give We Solve Murders a try, be sure to check the link in the show notes to grab a copy.
Yes.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
And as always, thank you for listening to the Book Nook podcast.
Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review if you're enjoying these deep dives. It helps us reach more book lovers like you.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of books.